Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam to all. Mukam Karoti Vachalam, Pangum Langayati Girim, Yatkrupatam Ham Vande, Sri Gurum Dinatarinam, Pramananda Madham, Sri Chaitanyeshwar. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining the Japa session. So, today we will see the last part of the first text of Sri Shikshashtakam, that is Saravatma Snapanam, Param Vijayate, Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. So, we have seen all the from the Chetu Darpanam Ajanam to Pratipadam Purnamrita Aswadanam. So, today we will see the last part. So before that, we'll sing the text one at least, and then we'll continue with our discussion. So it will be a very small session. Okay. Cheto darpanamarjanam भवमहदावाग्निर्वापणं श्रेयः कैरवचन्द्रिका वितरणं विद्यावधूजीवनम् आनन्दाम्बुधेवर्धनं प्रतिपदं पूर्णामृतास्वादनं सर्वात्मस्नपनं परं विजयते श्रीकृष्ण संकीर्तनं नामकारे बहुधा निज सर्वशक्तिस्तत्रार्पित नियमितः स्मरणेन कालः एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवन् ममापि दुर्दैवमिदृशम् इहाजनिनानुरागः. So by telling about Shikshashtakam, I feel like ecstatic. I wanted to stop at text one, but I could continue to text two. So Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. So what is the meaning of Sarva? That is for everyone or completely or full. Okay. And Atma is soul or Jiva. And Snapanam is bathing or cleansing and cooling. All right. So what is Sarvatma Snapana means that the same holy name will cleanse us so much that it is like just taking a complete bath. So when we take a bath, what will happen? So the dirt that is there on our body, that will get cleansed. So this Harinam or this holy name is so powerful that it will cleanse everything. So much so that nothing will be left that we can consider as a contamination. So I was giving as the example of demineralized water or the completely fully distilled water. So in that, the TDS, total dissolved solids, will be almost zero. Right. So such water is required in some pharmaceutical researches and all, okay, or in some industries and all. So if we take the normal seawater, then it has a lot of TDS, right? And when we purify it, when we process it completely, then it will come to the demineralized or the completely distilled water level, right? So similarly, now we have so much of contamination in terms of so many desires, right? And then what happens? This holy name will cleanse of everything. Right. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to confirm and establish the truth that this holy name will give the complete purification. Right. So complete purification means we'll talk by seeing one verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So the last verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam comes into the 12th canto, 13th chapter. Right. So it is the 23rd verse. So generally we have in Srimad Bhagavatam, 12 cantos are there, around 335 chapters are there, and altogether 18,000 verses that we say. So by number, if you go, it won't be 18,000, but actually the proper division will be there, which makes or which equals to 18,000. So the last verse of Srimad Bhagavatam says, Nama Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranashanam Pranamo Dukkha Shamanas Tam Namami Harim Param. So Nama Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranashanam. So generally, when we talk about holy name, then we say that, all our sins will be destroyed. No, actually, this is coming at the right at the end of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Now we say that by chanting, actually, incidentally, the sinful reactions or the sin-making pravritti, what is there, that will go off. So why this verse is coming at the end of Srimad Bhagavatam? We already heard about many great personalities, right? And why we are now talking about Sarva Papa Pranashanam, right? So that means here this verse says that even from the transcendental or ultimate perspective, even asking for liberation is also considered as a sin, right? That means it is so high standard that even asking for liberation is also considered as a selfish desire. Because liberation for whom? For me, right? Who want to go back home, back to Godhead? Me, right? Who want to enjoy Krishna Prema? Me. So everywhere still there is me, right? So when there is me or when there is I, there is still some selfish desire is left, right? On a subtle level there will be some desires, and this holy name will cleanse not only on the gross level but on the subtle level also. All these selfish desires or any traces or any tinges of material thing will be cleansed, right? So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that enjoying the bliss of prema can also be subtly motivated by selfish desire, which is opposed to pure love of Godhead. So that will also be cleansed, right? We see some of the great devotees who doesn't want to express their ecstasy, right? So when they are serving Krishna, they feel like sometimes the ecstasy itself is like what you say impediment in their service to Krishna, right? So there was a one devotee who was actually the fanning Krishna with some chamara. So that time he was actually feeling ecstasy. So when Krishna is present, when someone is serving Krishna, definitely he'll feel ecstasy. So because of that ecstasy, the eyes were actually rolling out, the tears were rolling out of his eyes. And when the tears will come in our eyes, the vision will be blurred, right? And when we are crying, there will be energy difference, right? So that time, this devotee, what he felt is, see, this ecstasy, this eyes, tears, and all, actually, they are interrupting my service to Krishna. So, in general, we want to share about our ecstasy. We want to feel great about our ecstasy. We want that ecstasy to come again and again. But actually, this devotee is in such a stature of bhakti that he feels that ecstasy is also coming like an impediment between he and his service to Krishna. Right? There is another devotee where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu talks about the glories of that devotee. The devotee was Mukunda Das. So he was he was like a doctor. So he used to serve one Mughal king. So one day he went to do some medication and do some, a kind of service, a medical service to that king. And that time, one of his servant, the king's servant, were actually fanning him with the peacock feathers. Okay. So by seeing that peacock feather, he actually remembered Krishna, and in ecstasy, he lost his consciousness and he fell down. He rolled from the high platform where the king sits. From there, he rolled on and he fell on the ground. So when everyone came, the king came and tried to bring him back to consciousness. Then they asked, like, what happened, Mukundadas? Then he said, like, actually, I have epilepsy. This fits and all, no? So that epilepsy attack was there. That is why I fell down. Okay. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu glorifies by saying that, though Mukundadas told that because of epilepsy he fell down, right? But the king has understood and he told, hey Mukunda Das, don't lie. You remembered Krishna and you are so great devotee of Krishna that by seeing that you felt into ecstasy and you actually lost consciousness. So when a great devotee feels ecstasy, he may deny, saying that, okay, it is not that, it is something else, but the others will also understand. So here the point that we have to learn here is they don't enjoy sharing their ecstasy also, because this also they feels like this is something selfish. Okay, I should not be talking about all these things. Okay, I should be serving Krishna and all. And they always consider themselves so low that they feel like, ecstasy is like for the great devotees and the sharing about that is for others. Okay, I am not so big that I can share about that. Let me just engage in Krishna's service. So that means generally when we talk about bhakti, initially on all in the middle level of bhakti, we say that we have to go back home, back to Godhead, and we have to be in the spiritual world, and we have to love Krishna, we have to enjoy that love of Krishna. So like that we will talk. Okay, initially when we come to bhakti, we come for something other than Krishna. Okay, Krishna, I have this problem, I want this, I want that. That is why we come to bhakti, right? Later on, by studying the shastras, by hearing, by chanting, we'll come to understand like actually we want Krishna, we have to love Krishna, we have to enjoy the love of Krishna and all. We will talk about going back home, back to Godhead. But later on in the higher stages, we will talk like, even enjoying the love of Krishna is also selfish. It is not pure love. because still the I is existing over there, right? So we have to know all these things, but at the same time, what we have to understand is from the ultimate perspective, enjoying the bliss of loving Krishna can be considered as a sin. But from the level where we are, it is not the sin. So why we are talking about this? Because sometimes our mind will try to distract us from loving Krishna by showing some sense gratification, right? Some sense objects, oh, you can go there, you can do enjoyment there, over there, and all. Sometimes it will try to trap us in that way. Sometimes it'll come in a different way. It will say, see, still you are thinking about yourself only, you are not loving Krishna. What is the use of doing bhakti like this, right? Have you not heard about sarvatma snapanam? So even to go back home, back to Godhead, this desire is also not good, right? See, you have only that desire only. That means you are telling that you are spiritual, but in that also you are still material only. So many things the mind might have to say, right? And we may get influenced by that. So we should not get influenced by those words. Okay, yes, it is also a sin to enjoy the bliss of loving Krishna, but actually for us, that itself is very big. Okay, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu want to establish this truth so that he can set so high standards that we should never feel that we are at a higher standard. Okay, so we should not feel pride when we have ecstasy, because those who are at the highest standard, they don't even feel like sharing their ecstasy, right? So if you are feeling ecstasy, you want to share, then you are actually not up to the standard yet. So you have to be more sincere, more humble, and you have to practice more. So this extra amazing, extraordinary experiences of this devotees and the pastimes and all, they tell us how to be more humble even when we are in an advanced stage, right? So the Sarvatma Snapanam is like the highest standard that we have to reach, and that should inspire us to become more humble and more sincere and increase our faith in the holy name, right? And that's why there is a difference between Cheto Darpana Marjanam and Sarvatma Snapanam. So Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakura says Cheto Darpana Marjanam means maybe gross level the desires and all will be cleansed, okay, but that is not enough. We have to come to the stage of Sarvatma Snapanam also, where even the desire to go back home, back to Godhead, can also be actually be cleansed. So generally when we talk about the four purusharthas, we talk about dharma, artha, kama, moksha, right? And in that, moksha is considered the topmost. But when we come to bhakti, we talk about panchama purushartha, that is the love of Godhead, right? Now, in that love of Godhead also, there are high standards. Okay, so pure love of Godhead means where there is no I. So in the text 4 also we see that Mama Janmani Janmanishware Bhavatad Bhaktir Ahetuki Tvai. So Krishna, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that, Krishna, even I don't want liberation, right? I want to actually serve you. Okay. For that, if you have to send me again and again to this world, that also doesn't matter, right? So if we are having a desire to go back home, back to Godhead, because this material world is very miserable, right? Then it is not pure love, right? We want to serve Krishna, we want to love Krishna. Okay. And for that, if Krishna want to put us in the material world, that is also fine. If he want to put us in the hell, that is also fine. If you want to put us in the Swarga, that is also fine. If you want to call us back home, back to God, that is also fine. It is Krishna's wish. Okay, so the last I that we should have is to serve Krishna, and everything has to be Krishna centered. I should not see I, right? So that level of bhakti Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is talking will come into our life because of this holy name. So Sarvatma Snapanam will happen. Now when that Sarvatma Snapanam happens, what happens? Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. So this holy name, or the congregational chanting of the holy name, will have the highest victory, right? So generally when we talk about victory over a enemy, then the enemy is generally outside and we don't surrender, because if we surrender we lose. So we actually attack and we try to win over the enemy. But in bhakti, it is reversed. First thing, the enemy is not outside. Enemy is inside only. In our consciousness only, so many desires are there. Because of that, we are getting defeated. So inside the enemy is there. And the second thing is, we cannot identify our Shatru or our enemy so easily. sometimes our enemy comes in the dress of our friend only, right? So we see, if we know that the enemy is coming, we can prepare. But if we don't know who is the enemy, where we will prepare, then definitely we'll get defeated. That is why the process of surrender when the enemy is outside is considered as the losing or defeat. But surrendering to Krishna is considered as the best process, because when we surrender to Krishna, we can conquer the enemy within us. Right? So Param Vijayate means that we have conquered all the enemies. Right? Even the enemy of enjoying the bliss of loving Krishna, all that also is considered like a small enemy. Right? On that also Param Vijayate, we have conquered. Param means the supreme or the ultimate. Okay. Vijayate is the victory. So there is nothing to conquer anymore. We have conquered everything. Okay. So that can happen with this holy name. So Sarvatma Snapanam, when it happens, that means that is the ultimate victory that we can achieve through this holy name. So when we surrender to Krishna, we actually can expect this victory. Okay, just like when we surrender to the doctor, we can expect to get cured, right? The more we surrender, the better we follow the doctor, the quicker and the faster we'll get cured, right? So whether we are cured or not, what is the symptom? Sarvatma Snapanam is the symptom. So from from our life, we should get erased. Everything has to be filled with Krishna. Then that is called as the position of cure. If we are not in that position, then we are still suffering with this disease. Right? So the more we do bhakti, the more we chant this holy name, we are shifting ourselves from a diseased condition to the normal condition. Right? So our constitutional position is to serve Krishna always selflessly. Right? But now we are not in our constitutional position. Our position is contaminated. So the position of constitutional position was the pure consciousness is here, and we are continuing our journey with the holy name. So when we reach to the last point where the Sarvatma Snapanam is done, then we can say the holy name has conquered our heart. It has conquered our consciousness by killing all the enemies or all kind of selfish desires. So this is possible with this holy name. So in bhakti, our fortune is that our goal is Krishna, our purpose is Krishna, and the process to achieve Krishna is also Krishna. Right? We want Krishna and we take the name of Krishna. Right? So such a wonderful process. So Krishna is not only our final destination, but he is also our companion. Through Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, like Srila Prabhupada and all, he actually paves out the path to reach him. Right? So it is very rare to see anywhere that the person whom we want to meet and the person who is traveling with us is same, right? So Krishna comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and gives this holy name and also the glories of holy name so that we can increase our faith in the holy name and chant more and more sincerely. Just we might talk a lot about it, but when we chant about it and when we talk a lot about it, then what will happen? Together it will start cleansing it, right? So sometimes we may feel like, okay, I'm talking a lot about the holy name, but I'm not experiencing it, right? But if you talk more, right, there is a chance that you will start experiencing it more. Okay, so I just wanted to add this point. Once Amog Leela Prabhu, he was telling, if your sadhana is not going good, okay, then you should preach more and more, he said. Because in general, what happens when our sadhana is not going good, we'll feel like, Arey, I myself is not doing proper sadhana, what preaching I will do? That is what we will think. No, but actually you should preach more. Why? Because when you preach, you are actually preaching yourself also automatically. When you say someone that you should chant 16 rounds, then that you includes you also, right? So our mind will say, okay, you are telling to others, what about you? You should also chant now. But if you are not preaching, then you will not hear yourself saying that you should preach or you should chant, isn't it? So we should talk about the holy name, we should talk about the highest standards and all. Why? Because over a period of time, the same talking and chanting will increase our sincerity, and over a period of time we will reach to that supreme purity which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is talking about, right? So we have seen the Cheto Darpana Marjanam to Sarvatma Snapanam. In that process, our consciousness blossoming, the cleansing process is happening and everything, all this is happening with one name, that is Krishna, right? So we should always remember that what we have in our hand is a greatest jewel. Okay, so we may not appreciate it because we are not enough matured, others may not appreciate it because they don't know, but we should at least try to know about it and hold that very tightly, very safely, until we get the Sarvatma Sapanam. And after that, it is with you only, it is a part of you, right? As of now, the holy name and we are different, but when the Sarvatma Snapanam happens, we and holy name are actually combined so closely that we are inseparable now, right? So the glories of holy name we have to hear more and more, so that we can increase our faith and we can blissfully go ahead in this journey. So Sarvatma Snapanam, Shri Shri Shikshashtakam ki jai, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.